Episode 46 is Gracie Davis Part 2. So if you're just tuning in, make sure to go back to episode 45 to hear Gracie's birth story, all about free birth, meaning she birthed all by herself and carried out her pregnancy all by herself with her partner. Such a fascinating story on autonomy and empowerment. And our microphones just kept rolling. We had so much to talk about. So in this episode 46, we continue our conversation about parenting, specifically talking about co-sleeping, community nursing, elimination communication.
What does a contraction feel like? How do I know if I'm in labor? And what does a day of labor look like? Wait, is this normal? Hey, I'm Heidi. My best friends call me Hides. I'm a certified birth doula, host of this podcast, and author of Birth Story, an interactive pregnancy guidebook. I have supported hundreds of women through their labor and deliveries, and I believe every one of them and you deserves a microphone and a stage. So here we are. Listen each week to get answers to these tough questions. Birth Story, where we talk about pregnancy, labor, deliveries, where we tell our stories and share our feelings. And of course, chat about our favorite baby products and motherhood. And because I'm passionate about birth outcomes, you will hear from some of the top experts in labor and delivery. Whether you are pregnant, trying desperately to get pregnant, or you just love a good birth story, I hope you will stick around and be part of this birth story family. Let's start with elimination communication. Again, how in the world did you learn or hear about this?
Well, I had done a home birth Q&A or some kind of pregnancy Q&A thing on my YouTube channel. And somebody wrote in the comments, well, hey, since you're planning on all of this natural stuff, have you heard of EC? You should look into it. And I had never heard of it before. And I looked into it and just enough to know what it was, which is basically instant potty training. And I was like, oh, wow, that's crazy. That's cool. And so I looked up the hashtag on Facebook or Instagram, and I saw posts of, oh, my baby is 5 months old. He's only ever pooped in a diaper 3 times in his life, or just mind blowing stuff like that. And pictures of tons and tons of pictures of babies on toilets and babies on potties and in arms holding them over the sink. And I was like, okay, this is actually a thing. And so I bought the book and I planned to
Wait, what's the book? What's the book?
I bought Go Diaper Free by Andrea Olson.
Okay.
And now I am a certified Go Diaper Free coach, an EC coach. So I run support groups here in San Diego. Anyways, so I meant to read the book and to do all this research, and I never got around to it pregnant. So whenever Griffin was born, I just read the newborn section, like a chapter, and we just winged it, and it worked. Like, he was a couple days old, and we just started holding him. It's called the classic EC hold. So you hold them underneath their knees so that they're in like a deep squat position and they're facing away from you. So their little body is right on your chest and their head is kind of in between your breasts. Their back is on your chest, and you just hold them there over some kind of a receptacle. Like, I had this small little potty that I would use because I was still in bed. And then, or if my husband or sister took him, like, they would just do it over the sink, because an exclusively breastfed baby, there's no waste in breast milk. So the poop can just get rinsed down the sink and it's totally like benign. Not a big deal. At least it wasn't for me. And so, yeah, we started just doing it at diaper changes. And it was awesome because I was noticing in the beginning, every time I put a clean diaper on him, he would go to the bathroom in it right away. And that's totally normal because, yeah, I took the diaper off. So then he was like a little animal, like, oh, now is the time to go to the bathroom. It's like you take the dog out of the kennel. Like, they don't want to soil where they're eating or sleeping. It's the same for a baby. Babies are so smart. And so it just worked. And I never even did all the research. I never did all the naked observation time, which is recommended to do in the beginning, where you watch your baby naked to see how long, has it been since he's eaten, napped, woke up, whatever. I never did all that stuff. I offered off intuition and at regular intervals or at natural rhythms, just like you or me. Like, whenever you wake up, you usually go to the bathroom before you do anything else. or whenever you get out of the car, whenever you come out of a baby carrier or out of a car seat. So it was just really easy. And the first time he like peed on command, basically for us, it was like, oh my God, oh my God, it worked.
Cheering.
And then the first time he pooped, I was like, oh my God, like I just saved a diaper. And it was awesome. So it just became like super addicting. And I just started offering it regularly, like at every diaper change and at wake ups. And because I don't have any other children that I've, period, that I've full-time diapered, this was just what was normal for us. And it didn't seem like a lot of extra work because I was not cleaning poop off a baby, which that seemed like extra work. Whenever that would seldomly happen, it was kind of like a big deal. It's like, oh, just run the bath, just put him in the bath. And so now he's like 13 months, almost 14 months, and he poops in the toilet on his toilet seat reducer every day. Twice yesterday, once this morning before his nanny picked him up, and it's really great, and it's just so easy. We're almost ready to stop using diapers. Yeah. So we have like these little training underwear, these really cute little toddler underwear that have like a little bit of extra padding in the middle. And yeah, he still pees in a diaper maybe like 40% of the time because he still does wear a diaper all the time. Now, there's like different levels of EC you can do. You can do it part-time. You can do it full-time. You can do it during the night. We don't do it during the night. We just let him pee in his diaper at night. But it's definitely not an all or nothing thing. You can do it a little bit or a lot, whatever works for your family. And it's really awesome. And it's given us a totally new like level of respect for our kid. Like he's just so grateful to not be shitting his pants.
Seriously, who wouldn't be?
He looks at you and he's just like so happy, and so proud of himself. It's a great feeling.
I love it. Well, I was going to share with you, Gracie. So I was like just volunteered in an orphanage in Uganda a couple of years ago, and then in South Africa in 2009 and 2010. And at the orphanages in Africa, like everyone is elimination communication because there were no diapers. It wasn't just an environmental footprint or I can't afford it. It was like they weren't available and they weren't accessible. And so the kids just kind of walk around. Some of them are naked and some of them have a t-shirt on and no pants. Mm-hmm. And then when I say walk around, I'm like, most of them are still crawling around, but they just, what we would call like nannies or whatever. But the workers at these orphanages would just hold the baby out like kind of over the bush or the grass, and then they would go to the bathroom and then would bring them back to their chest. I'm like, how is this baby like on cue? And yes, there were still accidents and to clean up and different things. I mean, it's not foolproof, but they, in these orphanages, they're able to go for a long period of time with elimination communication from the time they receive the children in very young ages, even right after birth. So So it's pretty amazing. It is pretty amazing. So I want to go back to like co-sleeping and laying in bed for like a month and having someone else serve you and take care of you. And like, this is for sure how it should be. Like one of the things I try to explain to my moms is like going back to work at 6 weeks is like not normal because then it makes you feel like at week 2, you should be out walking. And at week 3, you should be like doing all your dishes and laundry and, when really we should just be laying around and drinking warm soups and broths and healing.
Exactly.
And so to hear that you did this, I'm just so thankful that you had the time, you had the money, you had the resources to be able to do that too, because there's a big gaping wound in our uterus that's open. And what is the plural for uterus? Uteruses? Uteri? I'm like, uteri. I was like, I have no idea now that I'm saying this out loud. I usually don't talk about them in the plural. But, for all of us, it's like it's a big gaping wound where the placenta detaches from. And this is why we continue to bleed for, 6-8 weeks or whatever. But I always say, like, imagine if that size of the placenta or that wound was like on your arm or your leg or your chest and someone saw it. They would be like, oh my gosh, lay down. Let me take care of you. Let me dress it. Let's rest until your body heals. And so we just push it. The society just pushes it too hard, too soon. So thank you for taking at least probably 30 or 40 days for that rest period.
And it was nice not having any visitors. I just free bled. I wasn't wearing any clothes, so I would just grab like a cloth diaper insert or a towel or face cloth or something and put it in between my legs.
Yeah.
And it was really nice. And like, unless it was somebody that I was comfortable being naked around, which was like my husband and my sister, like they weren't welcome in our
And
house.
you said your sister did your laundry every day for you. That was so sweet, so that you could free bleed.
Yeah. And like, even after the birth, maybe 3 or 4 days postpartum, I went through like a bout of contractions and like afterbirth pains that were super intense. And I was like doubled over, like on my hands and knees naked, like working through this, like somebody was holding my baby. And I really couldn't imagine, like, if I had visitors, like family members in my home, and like I was feeling this and had to like shut it down, or, you know, it would have been so uncomfortable and so horrible. And I was just so glad I was, you know, didn't have that, wasn't out of the house, didn't have anybody there that I wasn't comfortable doing that around. So
it's interesting. As we're talking right now, like my wheels are turning, because I usually follow up with my doula clients within a week. And I'm like, maybe I should have a discussion with them about not coming to follow up with them for some time. Now, I know they're quite comfortable with me because I'm their doula, and they were very naked in front of me for their whole labors and stuff. And I'm coming to serve them. I'm not just like coming to like, you know, hang out.
Well, I think that's important that you're there close after the birth.
Yeah. Right. But it's still got my mind thinking, like, am I a distraction and I would be better served, or am I doing enough of caring for the moms within that first week? Because you don't want to disturb a mom, but yeah, so I'm going to think about that a little bit more. And so let's move on to part of that, and that resting and laying in bed is co-sleeping. So let's just hear about what your version of co-sleeping looked like with an infant, looks like now, you know, with a 14-month-old and being pregnant. So just share with me kind of what your co-sleeping journey is.
Well, I knew that I was going to co-sleep right from the start. We never bought a crib or anything. So as soon as Griffin was born, he just cuddled up to me, and I started nursing right away. He started nursing right away. And I knew that just on the breastfeeding note, like I knew like a lot about breastfeeding, like probably a lot more than most new moms. Like I knew that there wouldn't be milk in the beginning, you know, all he needed was a couple drops of colostrum, but that he just to keep putting him at the breast, any chance he was awake, just keep putting him at the breast. And then, you know, that would make my milk come in a few days later, and it did. So we just cuddle up next to each other. I'd lie nurse. My sister, who has a 3-year-old son, Aaron, the firstborn triplet, she gave me some FaceTime lessons on that. And yeah, once I figured out how to nurse lying on my side in bed, it really made it easy. And so whenever he was really small, he mostly had his head on my arm, because you're always wondering, well, what do I do with that arm? You know, that's like,
right.
Where does it go to, you know, whenever you're lying on your side. So I always had a really good pillow to support my back. I would shove it underneath my back so I could let my weight fall back on it, roll back onto it, and I would be supported there on my side. And his head would be on my arm, and, you know, he would nurse and he would fall asleep like that, and I just wouldn't move him, and he would just stay like that. And then as he got bigger, my arm like ended up on top of his head on the bed, you know, but he was always in that same little nook, me lying on my side, kind of protecting him, like around him. And we always slept with blankets in our bed. It just felt right to me. I kept him down a little bit lower, and I would wear a long sleeve t-shirt that I would crop really high so I could like easily have breast access for nursing, but that my shoulders were, you know, not getting cold. And I kept him naked, just like always doing skin to skin. And then as he got bigger, I started dressing him at night, like not long ago, actually, like once he like kind of started crawling around and sitting up a lot and was able, and yeah, because then he just wasn't under the blankets anymore ever. He was always somewhere else. And we made this huge family bed recently. We ditched our bed frame and put the king size mattress on the floor, and then got a queen, the matching mattress, like the same height. So there's a king and a queen on the floor, and they each have like their own set of sheets, and it's a wall to wall bed, and it's awesome. And especially now that he's bigger and he like, you know, sleeps the opposite way in bed, and I can get away from him and get a little bit more sleep.
They've
And
always
it's
got
really
their
great.
feet in my mouth. I'm like, what is happening
Yeah.
here?
And so anytime he wakes up, I just nurse him back to sleep. And at the time, that's just like us going to sleep together with him watched. I went through a time at the beginning of my pregnancy where it was really hurting a lot to nurse, and I just, it was a huge thing. I night weaned him, and I did that for 3 weeks or a month, and it was great at the time. I kept him still beside me, and I would just comfort him back to sleep or give him a bottle of some other kind of milk, goat's milk or something. But then as the nursing aversion left, I just started nursing him again throughout the night. It was just easier. And now my milk is gone, but we still nurse throughout the night. And sometimes, actually, it hurts a lot and it's pretty uncomfortable, but whatever. I'm a pretty tough chick.
Yeah.
So
I'm like,
yeah,
just a power lifter, competitive. No, but dry nursing is, really where we remain the pacifier, even when the milk is dried up. And so I'm assuming did your milk dry up soon after you became pregnant?
Yeah, it happened around week 10 or so. Like my letdowns were getting shorter and shorter. Like I used to be able to feel my letdown or hear him gulping for like a solid minute. And then they became like really short, like maybe 5-10 seconds. And then maybe 3 weeks ago, I was just not having any more letdowns. And whenever I hand express, there's like just a couple drops that comes out. But yeah, so I'm really just using nursing now as a tool to put him to sleep, the dry nursing.
Yeah.
And he's really not super interested unless he really needs to be comforted. Apart from that, he's, drinking a lot of water and eating snacks. So yeah, I'm mostly just using it for nap times and bedtime right now, which is great.
I know.
Working really good.
I love it. I'm like, we were born with built-in pacifiers. We didn't have to buy them. But
yeah, I didn't use a pacifier on Griffin. I was like pretty dead set against it. And so I didn't buy any. And I just knew that he had to have my nipple in his mouth at every waking moment whenever he was an infant. And that's how we were going to have a successful breastfeeding relationship. There was not going to be timed or, scheduled like feedings. It was, if he was awake, he would be nursing or I would have it on demand for him. And then maybe like every 30 minutes after that. So I was already going into it with that understanding. So it was really not shocking to me that he wanted to nurse all the time or that he would nurse all the time. I mean, it was shocking to extended family members, like maybe on my husband's side, like at Christmas. Oh my God, he's just always eating or he's always hungry. It's a baby.
Right.
Like, yeah.
No, and he's like suckling and he's soothing and he's calming and he's drinking, here and there. So, well, this earlier in our conversation, I said I would circle back to this, but one of the hardest parts of my job is the culture that we live in, right? And every client I have doesn't have, these cool radical views of co-sleeping and nursing, around the clock. And so one of the things as a doula is preparing moms for those first 6 or 12 weeks, right? Because most everyone is coached on kind of like this timing and, your baby has to eat every 2 to 3 hours or kind of, even on demand. But and then how tired they are. And we just kind of perpetuate this like, oh, I'm so tired and I'm waking up and it's so hard. And it is so hard. And we are waking up and it stinks. But I cannot say it over and over again. If you lay in bed and you rest and you nap and you sleep and you co-sleep and you nurse on demand, like you will not be that tired. You're not going to feel like you're hurting.
Nap, I'm lying next to him ever since the day he was born. So that sometimes I sleep. Sometimes I'm just screwing around on my phone the whole time. Sometimes I watch a TV show. Now, sometimes I'll sneak away from him, once in a while, but 95% of the time I'm lying in bed next to him. And that's, okay, number one, I can nurse him back to sleep anytime he stirs or tries to get up. So we're not having hour naps, we're having 3-hour naps. And okay, I'm like very lucky that I can, afford to do this, that I'm here with him. Anyways, like I can't put my baby down, but it's like so normal. Like your baby does, they want to be with their mom. And if you try just napping with them, they will sleep.
Yes.
And you'll be able to be rested.
Absolutely. And I just can't say it enough to anyone out there who's pregnant is if
your life affords you, time off of work, and you don't have to go right back to the office or right back to your job. Like if you truly do like just lay down and sleep with the baby or sleep when the baby sleeps, and don't think of it like, we wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and we go to bed at 8 o'clock at night. Like that's your old life. Your new life,
Yeah.
if you embrace it as a different schedule, everyone else, there'll be a lot less stress, a lot more rest, a lot more comfort, so that first 6 to 12 weeks can be easier. It's one strategy that you could deploy to help it be an easier time. And so, part of this episode and talking to you, Gracie, is the platform's education through storytelling. And so we don't educate on just one way. We educate on all of the ways, because there may be parts of your story that resonate with someone, and then parts of a different story that resonate. And then they take all of these pieces and then they put together their own plan, kind of like what you did, right? You put together your own plan by taking little bits and pieces from your mom and your sisters and your family and your Instagram and your people in your community. And then you made, Gracie Davis's, this is how I do pregnancy. So that's the encouragement for the listeners today, is just listen to all the different things and then figure out what's right for you, your body, your baby, and then make those decisions. And then one thing we just didn't touch on too much was just community nursing. And so let's just talk about it for 1 second, just to let's get the stigma out of there, right? Like breast milk is breast milk. In my community, we actually, in Charlotte, North Carolina, there's a lot of breast milk sharing. And so I think that that's one step in the right direction, is that we are very open to donating our breast milk and sharing our breast milk with others whose supply might be low or they may have gotten sick. And so, but taking it to the next level of, anyone can comfort your baby at their breast if that's something that you're open to. So you've done this, you've nursed other babies, you've let others nurse Griffin.
Yeah. I mean, it just feels right to me. And because, he didn't take a pacifier, if anybody could give a nipple, even my husband in the first couple of days would just dry nurse him, and because he would just latch on to anything, he didn't care. And it was nice. And I have a friend here who has low supply, and when I was still producing milk, I would nurse her son so that she could save her donated breast milk, Yeah. And anytime I would see him, I would nurse him, and yeah.
And then before we go, I always ask moms, what's your favorite baby product?
Well, we've been using these bamboo diapers since Griffin was a newborn. And like we do EC, but we still, like I said, we still use diapers. These are awesome. They are super fast biodegrading bamboo diapers. The brand is called Diaper, DYPER, and it's Get Diaper on Instagram. And I'll send you a link for your show notes. Delivered to your door once a month diaper service. So these are made from bamboo. They're super soft. They are like 100 times softer to the touch. They are, no chemicals, no dyes, no glues. Pretty much the crunchiest disposable diaper that you can find out there. I love them. And so they have all different sizes. You pay about $65 a month and you get never too many. It's like a never too many, never not enough, or something like that.
No, exactly.
You know what I'm trying to say? It's always the right amount. And if you run out or if you're running low, they'll send, like, diapers will show up within like 4 hours to your door. It's like an SOS service. It's a really great thing. I think the usual time is, I don't know, hundreds of years for a normal disposable diaper to break down in a landfill. And these diapers, I'm pretty sure it's like between 50 to 70 days. I forget the exact number of days, but it's pretty amazing how they've designed them, and we love them. And there's a wet strip on them, which makes doing EC super, super easy than without the wet strip. So you can see if he's already peed or not without having to like feel the diaper. And that's nice. So we love them. And now Griffin is in their pull-ups. They have pull-ups, and he's using those at night because he pees a lot during the night. So we love them. That's my favorite my favorite baby product.
All right. Well, I like that you were like, they're the super crunchiest, and I like that they break down so quickly. So if anyone listening is interested in learning more about diaper, DYPER, we'll link it in the show notes so that you could put an order in. Gracie, thank you so much for sharing your story and being on the Birth Story podcast. And I just am a big fan, and I love women that use their voice no matter what their platform is. And I love watching you use your voice. So thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to Birth Story. My goal is you will walk away from each episode with a clear picture of how labor and delivery might go, and that you will feel empowered by the end of your pregnancy to speak up, plan, and prepare for the birth you want, no matter